Hello, Planet Earth. Welcome to my YouTube channel. We're at IDK, my BFF Jill 730.
Jill 730.
I'm Preston L. Young, wishing you warm salutations and congratulations. As always, you've made your way to the Buffyngton Post. Today I'll be taking a break from the Buffyverse, and I'll actually be covering two Game of Thrones episodes, Eastwatch and Beyond the Wall. I was out of town on vacation last week, and I recorded, and then I was like, oh, I'll just put them together, and then I recorded for Beyond the Wall, but I didn't like what I recorded, so I'm back today, and so I'll include a timestamp in the description box below if you want to go ahead and skip to Beyond the Wall, but yeah, without further ado, let's jump into Game of Thrones Season 7, Episodes 5 and 6. Here we go.
Shall we begin?
I think Eastwatch was my favorite episode of the season so far. I was very, very satisfied with it. Kind of a slow episode, you know, there's a lot of moving parts and there's not a whole lot of, like, getting where you're going, but there's also a lot of getting where people are going and getting back real fast. But anyway, I really enjoyed Eastwatch. I thought it was great. It just, it ramped everything up. You can tell we're building to something bigger. And let's talk about the Tarleys, because there's some interesting shit that's going on with the Tarleys in this episode. First of all, it's probably the first time that anyone has actually liked Randall Tarley right before he got barbecued to death with his son. Now, the interesting thing about this is when you're reading the books or when you're just watching the show and you hear them talk about stuff that happened in antiquity with, like, the Field of Fire and Harrenhal and everything, it sounds awesome. Like, it really sounds awesome. These stories from history about the conquerors, like when you hear about Nymeria coming over and with all her ships and whatnot, and then when you hear the stories of Harrenhal and how everything just got, like, melted by Balerion, it's crazy and it sounds amazing. But when you're in history, when you're actually in front of the dragon and you are watching it devour and, like, kill people, it's not cool. And I feel like Daenerys really scared a lot of people in this, like, not just people in the show, but, like, us. I feel like Daenerys really scared a lot of people in this episode, because it's one thing to hear about these amazing stories from history. It's another thing to be a part of history. And here they all are, and here we are, and we're seeing, like, you gotta get your hands dirty. If you want to play ball, like, you gotta get your hands dirty. You have to actually go in and not take any prisoners. Daenerys is not taking prisoners of war, and Tarly says, you can't send me to the Night's Watch because you're not my queen. And so, rather than taking prisoners, rather than taking hostages, she says, here's the deal. I'm what's up, Cersei's what's down, you can get in line, or you can die. And it was just really amazing, and it was something that I don't feel like people were prepared for, like, ultimate Daenerys, like, on the charge to get shit done. It was fun.
By way of our actions.
Yes, meanwhile, with action. Action.
So in this episode, we have Sam leave the Citadel after, we'll get to the whole annulment shit. We're getting there. But we had Sam, he left the Citadel. I'm guessing he's headed back up to the Wall because he's a man of the Night's Watch. And I have heard people kind of thinking that Sam will actually now be the head of his house, but he can't because he's a man of the Night's Watch. They swear off their titles and all kind of inheritance and, like, any kind of claim that they have to, you know, society, and they leave that behind when they join the Night's Watch, much like the King's Guard, who we're also going to talk about. But Sam has been passing little Sam off as his own child. His mother believes that baby Sam is, in fact, Big Sam's baby. And so, even though he would technically be a bastard because Gilly isn't married to Sam, they can't marry because of him being a man of the Night's Watch, because he's a bastard, unless there is some other, like, Tarly cousin or something, I'm thinking that baby Sam will actually inherit Hornhill, and he will be the Lord of Hornhill, and in the meantime, Gilly will be the Lady of Hornhill because baby Sam isn't of age yet. And so I think Gilly and the baby are actually going to be running things in the Reach. So that's cool, right? And it sounds fun, and I'm kind of like putting the pieces together for myself based on like what's on the table, but it would actually be really symbolic because she is a wildling. And so to actually have a wildling woman presiding over a big territory in the Reach would be unprecedented, A, and also symbolic of this revolution that's going on within Westeros. And so that's my big prediction, because, I mean, Sam, because he's a Night's Watchman, unless whoever actually wins this throne situation changes the rules of the Night's Watch, Sam can't inherit in Hornhill. And so that's the whole thing. Although he does have a sister, so maybe if his sister marries, then her husband would actually take it. But I don't know. I just think the whole idea of having Gilly and baby Sam running Hornhill would be really interesting. Now, the other thing about the Night's Watch is just kind of a tangent, but why can't they take wives and children? Like, I get it, they have to guard the wall, but wouldn't it make more sense to guard the wall if you knew that you had something really at stake, like your family to protect? You know? It doesn't make a shit ton of sense. Like, I can kind of see the King's Guard, because they have to be, like, all about the king. But the Night's Watchmen, they're all up there turning gay, or going down to the whorehouse in Moletown, but why not let them have a little poontang, honestly? Anyway, so let's talk about Cersei and her belly. I don't know if there's a baby in there or not, but it would really make sense if she were pregnant. Now, when she said it, I didn't believe her. I thought she was lying, but upon my rewatch, when you listen to Daenerys talking about how the dragons are her children, which I was talking about last week, it makes sense. Like, the dragons are Daenerys' legacy, and they're her babies. And so for Cersei, she doesn't have a legacy. She doesn't have any children to leave behind. Like, she and Jaime were talking about, and I want to say episode 1 or 2, about the fact that they don't have a dynasty. Like, all their children are dead. And so I'm thinking that it does make sense that Cersei is actually pregnant. Alright, well, have fun with that. I'm actually in the middle of recording.
Okay.
Love you too. And now the pregnancies could also give Cersei something to, like, be afraid for. Like, it could, make her a bit more vulnerable. It could make her maybe a bit more cautious, and so that's something to look at too. But the problem with Cersei being pregnant isn't necessarily that she's pregnant. The fact of the matter is, like, Cersei, people suspect her of blowing up the Sept of Baelor. They're passing it off as an accident, but people believe that this is actually what happened, that she just took it. And so they've never had a female monarch. They have this female monarch who muscled her way in, they believe, and are correct. And they all believe that Cersei's children are illegitimate, bastard, inbred beasts. You dig? And so, sure, she could say, I'm pregnant, but then her heir would be illegitimate, because first of all, he's inbred. And yes, you could say that the ruling monarchs throughout Westerosi history did in fact marry brother to sister, and, inbreeding's fine as long as you're the king and you make the rules, which, okay, we could give you that. But her children would be, whatever child, if she actually has one in there, would be illegitimate, because she cannot marry her brother. She can't marry Jaime, because he is captain of the King's Guard, and just like the Night's Watchman, he cannot inherit any titles or lands or take on a wife and sire heirs. And so he literally, she's like, oh, I'm just going to tell everybody it's yours, but you can't do that. And if she were to try and marry Jaime, if she changed the rules of the King's Guard, she's going to have big problems, because she's already promised herself to Euron once this war is over. So Cersei is digging herself a hole if she thinks that she can just tell everybody that, whoop-de-doo, I'm pregnant with my brother's baby. It's not going to go over well. Like, the thing is, the power that she has, she needs to maintain. She can't just go giving herself extra powers. Like, nobody's going to notice and not feel super shifty about it. Now, on the one hand, what are they going to do? She's in charge, but on the other, they could all throw their their swords behind Daenerys. And so it's bad business to go around saying that my brother that I'm not married to and can't marry got me all knocked up and I'm engaged to that motherfucker over there. It doesn't make sense. And I'm not saying that she won't do it. I'm not saying that Cersei's like big with the logic. I'm just saying she's digging herself a hole that she's not going to be able to crawl out of, and she's been doing that from day one, but this is one that really she needs to be very careful about. It's really bad. And by the way, everything that we got with Cersei this episode was just like, bam. Do you have enough Lena Headey in your life? Probably not. You need to like go back and find everything she's ever done. I'm gonna go back and watch like the Sarah Connor Chronicles is the word. So we've got that going on, and then we've also got the return of Jorah. Who cares? Who cares? I was over Jorah back in like season 4. I just don't get it. I don't understand why people care about Jorah. I don't understand why they are so like, oh, shipping with... No! It's dumb. I don't care. We spend too much time with Jorah. We have other places we need to be. And, you know, oh, it's nice. Like, this man who's been with you from the beginning, like, he got to see you come home and conquer. And, like, that's great for you. But bye Jorah. I just... I'm not here for Jorah, and neither is Daenerys for real. Like, she's like, thanks, you believed in me all this time, and now look at me. Everything you said I could do, I did it. Yay. But I'm just, why are we wasting time with this? It's just like last season when we, like, broke away from everything going on, and she was like, you come back to me when you're cured, and I wasn't here for it then, and I'm not here for it now. I'm over Jorah. I don't get... Bye, Jorah.
Bye, Felicia.
And the scenes with Drogon were amazing. When he was up on the hill, just looking down at everybody, it was these dragons are so fucking big. They're enormous. And then when she lands at Dragonstone and Jon reaches out and touches it or whatever, the CG, it's amazing. It's amazing that we're in 2017 and we can do this and we can make it look like a legit, breathing, actual dragon is being pet by this dumbass with a beard. I don't know if you've noticed or not, but I'm not a big Jon Snow fan. Like,
I don't give a damn.
Jon wants to grab up a White Walker zombie guy, one of the whites, and he wants to trek down to King's Landing, and then he wants to parlay with Cersei and Daenerys to convince her that the undead army is bigger than their own problems, which, okay, sure. So here's what I think is going to happen. Alright, so everybody's been looking for Clegane Bowl. Sandor versus Gregor. It's going to be awesome. So everybody's going up beyond the wall. And Cersei, she's got her zombie mountain bodyguard, okay? So here's what I think is going to happen. I think Beric is going to die beyond the wall. But I think because he's been risen by the Lord of Light, I don't think that he can be risen by the White Walkers. I don't think he can. I think we're going to find out that once you've been brought back from the dead by, like, the Lord of Light or what the heck ever, I think that you'll just stay dead if you die beyond the wall, which would be good news. We could just start resurrecting folks all over the place and then send them beyond the wall, right? And so they don't join the army. I do think that is a possibility. I'm not going to put any money on it, but I think that would be a really interesting way to keep Jon dead. If we see that Beric dies beyond the wall and stays dead and can't be, like, revivified, then that would give us some sense that Jon could die beyond the wall and not come back as our zombie king in the north. You dig? So I think that Beric will die, but stay dead. I don't know about the rest of them, though. And the Hound, I think the Hound will die beyond the wall, and he will be the one that they bring back to Cersei, and then we might get the Clegane Bowl. What? I think that'd be awesome. Who doesn't want, like, a zombie Hound? You know, I'm not a big fan of the Hound, but if he was a zombie, I might take it. Yeah, it's not the smartest plan, and I'm not going to go on about how it's not the smartest plan because everybody else and their grandma already has. So, whatever. Let's just agree that it's a dumbass plan to try and go grab you a White Walker zombie guy. It's just not smart. It's pretty dumb. And I like that Cersei knows it's pretty dumb. She's like, yeah, I'll talk to them, and then I'll stab them in the motherfucking back. That's what I do. So, whatever. And so, you know, Jamie, what's he doing with his life? They imply that Jamie was, like, kind of trying to peace out when he was going after Daenerys, and then, yeah, like magic, he popped up out of the water in no time flat. When the episode opened up, I was like, damn, that was quick, but whatever. So, yeah, Jamie, he's so conflicted. He's got his estranged brother, he's got his whacked out sister, and now he's got this baby on the way. I'm worried for this man's mental health because, I mean, it's exhausting in Westeros right now if you're Jamie. It's just like he's juggling everybody, trying to keep all these balls in the air, and everybody around him is fucking crazy, except for Bronn, who's really got his head on his shoulders. He's like, dude, when dragons are involved, I'm a peace out, Ho Scout, because it's not my game to be playing with dragons. So, Jamie, let's all, like, have a moment of silence for the craziness going on in his head. And I like that, that when he and Tyrion did meet up, it wasn't this great big emotion fest. They were like, this is what's up, this is what's down, you've got your priorities, I've got mine, love you, but this is what's up. So that's all well and good, and Davos just shines in this episode as per usual. He goes and finds Gendry. How the fuck quick did they get from Dragonstone to King's Landing back to Dragonstone real quick? Like, it was real quick. So quick. So anyway, yeah, Gendry's back. Here's what I think is going to go on with Gendry, by the way. Alright, so people keep saying, oh, Gendry and Arya are going to meet up and they're going to fall in love. No. Arya does not fall in love and fuck and get married. That's not Arya. She's the stranger. She's no one. She is, like, sexless. She's genderless. It is just Arya. And so I don't see Arya and Gendry, like, riding off into the sunset or whatever. What I think will happen is that maybe Gendry will marry Sansa, because the whole thing was Robert promised his son to Ned's daughter, and now Gendry's back. Maybe we can actually tie this all up and put Gendry and Sansa on the throne where Ned and Robert wanted their children in the first place. Right? But that's kind of reaching, but I could see it if they really wanted to tie everything up in a nice bow, although it's Game of Thrones, we don't have, like, bows on boxes. So about Sansa, something that I've been meaning to say all season is, you know, she's wearing this chain, you know? Like, she wears this chain and it comes all the way down, and it's nifty. But the thing about it is, it's the maesters, they wear their chains to represent what it is that they've learned. You have a link on the chain for every, like, subject that you master, and so once you kind of get an A in your subject, you forge a link on the chain out of a specific metal that represents that subject, and it goes on your chain. And so Sansa, you know, I think it's kind of symbolic that she's wearing this long-ass chain because she has had to learn a lot, and now she's walking around with a bunch of the knowledge and a lot of the power.
Power. I have it. They don't. This bothers them.
And so we've got in Winterfell this friction between Sansa and Arya, which I was kind of happy to see because it doesn't make sense that all of a sudden they would just, like, not be the same people. But on the other hand, it's just like, we have 2 more episodes to go and you guys are just drawing this out and building, like, false tension. I mean, we've got Arya finding this letter that Cersei forced Sansa to write, and Littlefinger's kind of manufacturing this all so that Arya thinks that Sansa's just in it for herself and in it to win it, which, you know, Arya's kind of already on that train. But I feel like it's conflict that's just gonna go away and not have any lasting repercussions, and I think that's kind of cheating.
Exactly. Speaking
of cheating, let's talk about this annulment now. Annulment, there's not a lot of precedent for it in the world of Ice and Fire. Like, there's not a shit ton of precedent for annulment, and so we're all kind of going in blind when it comes to this annulment situation between Rhaegar and Elia of Dorne. Now, here's the problem with it, though. Now, Elia of Dorne was the princess of Dorne, and she married Rhaegar Targaryen, and Rhaegar was heir to the throne. He's Jon's father, etc. But Elia could no longer conceive any more heirs, and Rhaegar was like obsessed with prophecy, and he believed that he was supposed to fulfill this magic prophecy, and that the dragon had to have 3 heads, and so he had to have 3 children, and he couldn't have another child, and so that would be why he got with Lyanna Stark to give him another heir. Okay, but Rhaegar already had 2. He had like a 13-year-old girl and baby Aegon, okay? And so by annulling their marriage, he may have disinherited his children, okay? So he already has these 2 children. They are the heirs to the throne after he dies. So why on earth would he disinherit them by annulling his marriage to Elia of Dorne? On top of that, you're going to piss off an entire kingdom within your 7 kingdoms, that being Dorne. You're going to come back after the war and say, oh, by the way, Dorne, your daughter is no longer my wife, and therefore no longer the Queen of Westeros, and so her children and her can go on back to Dorne. How does that work? It doesn't make a shit ton of sense.
What are you doing?
Alright, and so final thought is kind of out there, but I was talking about a couple weeks ago how in the books, Daenerys isn't somebody who has a home. Whenever she thinks of home, she thinks about this house with the red door. I'm wondering if her memory of this house with the red door that she believes was in Braavos isn't an actual memory. I'm wondering if it's a false memory. Maybe it's some vision of the Red Keep. Maybe it's Bran, like, getting into her head and kind of pointing her, like, go to the Red Keep, go to the house with the red door. Or maybe it's like her Targaryen lineage, because she gets those dragon dreams and whatnot, and so maybe it has something to do with the visions that she kind of gets, just being like a representation of the Red Keep, like this house with the red door. Maybe that's what it's all about. Like, maybe the Red Keep is like her home that she doesn't realize that she's been dreaming about this whole time. Like, the whole time she's been dreaming about the Red Keep and not some random house with the red door. I think maybe that her memory of this house with the red door might be false. I don't know, but it's random. But anyway, yeah, I really liked this episode, and I love everything that it kind of gives us to chew on and think on until Sunday. Oh, I know I'm always late, but I actually have a reason. I was on vacation for my birthday this week, so I'm back.
We will return for the second half of Days of Our Lives in just a moment.
It's time to laugh and play.
So have a happy day!
Come visit Busy Town. Lots of things to do and see.
It's so much fun to be
A part of Busy Town. We'll keep your spirits soaring
while we're exploring.
our busy world. Let's go! You can make a lot of friends
The good times never end.
when you're in Busy Town. Each adventure and surprise
We'll open up your eyes.
in such a busy world in Busy Town. Every day there's something new.
And you're invited too.
Come visit Busy Town. It's time to watch the show.
Stop trying to convince us that it's possible for Jon to die. We spent the entirety of the interim between seasons 5 and 6 talking about the fact that Jon can't fucking die, and he's going to be resurrected, and everybody knew that he was, and so when it appeared that Jon had died in Beyond the Wall, duh, he's not going to die, especially when you have everybody just waiting around for him to not be dead. And I really feel like, where's the stakes? Where are the stakes? Do they exist? Can Jon even die? I don't know. I feel like it's stupid for them to kind of dangle this carrot in front of us that we know has no nutritional value. You know what I'm saying? Like, keep your carrot. Jon doesn't die.
Duh.
Like, the show has given us no reason to believe that Jon is ever in actual danger. And the thing about it is, I don't care for show Jon. I think he's a whiny little bitch. He's always with his knowing nothing. I really prefer Book John. His youth in the books makes it easier for you to forgive certain dumbassery that he has. He's only like maybe 17 at this point in the books, and so like John is not a grown ass man like he is on the show, and so he just comes across as super lame on the show. But I don't know, everything beyond the wall, it was conversation, we're killing time, we're getting zombies, and then whoop-de-doo, like, all the zombies. How exactly are we supposed to accept that a dozen guys can fight off like 600 zombies and still make it out okay? Like, all your named characters made it out, with the exception of, Thoros. Let's have one for Thoros, but come on now.
Grumble.
If you're going to take a handful of living human people and tell me that they can survive for seemingly a couple days out there against, again, hundreds of zombies, why do we think that they're a threat once they get beyond the wall? Like, once they get south of the wall, why would they be a threat if a handful of guys can hold them off for 2 days? Where's the stakes? Where's the danger? Nobody can die. John can't even die. He literally falls into freezing water, and he's fine. He's got his Aunt Danny and his Uncle Benjen to come and clean up his messes every day. So, I don't... Stakes, where are they? Also, where is Ghost? You seen Ghost? I haven't. Maybe he's just blending in very well to the snow, but I honestly thought that Ghost was going to show up and show out in this episode, but nope. Dragons. And, the Viserion died, which, totally sad. And when Viserion died, I felt bad for Daenerys. I was just talking in the last episode review about how these dragons are her children, and so for her to lose one, it's super shitty for her. But at the same time, we don't know Viserion. We've spent time with Drogon, like up on the roof, and then when he came and saved her from the pit, and then when he came back and saved her again, like, where... We know Drogon, sort of, but we don't really know Viserion and Rhaegal. We haven't gotten to know them at all. They were all chained up down there and all the extra, and I get we can't spend all the time with the dragons, but, just because we lose a dragon doesn't mean that it's, emotionally impactful, because we haven't really spent any other time with the other dragons. So, I don't know. And I'm wondering if this whole dragon napping situation was a plan, because I don't know, like, here's the whole thing. We don't know anything about the Night King. We know that they shoved some obsidian into this dude and he became the Night King. Whoop-de-doo. That doesn't tell me anything. We don't know how his powers work. Oh, by the way, correct me if I'm wrong, but last season, when the walkers and the zombies came upon the tree that was being protected by the children when they were going after Bran and the three-eyed motherfucker, didn't they manipulate the ice around the tree? Didn't they, like, cause it to break and shatter? So, if we're led to believe that they can control ice, why wouldn't they just drown all the dudes that were on the little island thing? Why not just control the ice? Unless it was a plan. But again, we don't know the extent of their powers. We have no idea what their motivations are. We don't know what they want, or like how they're planning to get it. Maybe the dragon was part of their plan all along. And now when the Night King like grabbed Bran in his vision, he said he was marked, and I'm wondering if that mark might be like a back door into Bran's visions, because we saw in, I guess, Eastwatch, we saw Bran looking at the Night King, and the Night King recognized him. He saw him in the crows, and so I'm wondering if this access to Bran is actually accessing his visions as well. And since Bran is kind of like keyed into like fucking reality or whatever, maybe the Night King like sees what's coming, or maybe he's like planting things. I don't know. But again, we know nothing about the Night King. We know nothing about the White Walkers. What do they want? How are they planning to get it? Like, end game. We have no sense of what the end game is for the White Walkers. And All we know is that one of them is going to get, picked up by the Braves because of the throwing. Also, another thing is, since they brought the dragon back as, an undead dragon, we don't know if it's going to breathe ice or if it's going to breathe fire. Now, if it breathes fire, it could, melt the wall, in theory. And at some point, we're expecting the wall to fall or to go down, but if it is actually an ice-breathing dragon, then technically they could circumnavigate the wall and not even have to worry about it. Now, we don't know exactly, again, we don't know the Night King's powers. We don't know all about the magics that are within the wall, but it would seem to me that if you had an ice-breathing dragon, you could just create, an ice bridge that would take you either around or maybe even over the wall. So that's a whole thing. Maybe they can circumvent the wall by literally circumnavigating it. I don't know. I like what we've got from Tyrion in this episode. I like that Tyrion is talking to Daenerys about, you want to break this wheel, but if you want to conquer, you're going to have to keep this wheel going for some time. Who's going to take care of things when you aren't here? There's all this talk about succession and legacy and dynasty this season, and that's really interesting because we have the same kind of conversation going on between Jorah and Jon, talking about passing down Longclaw to Jon's children. And at that moment, you kind of see this look in Jon, oh yeah, I could actually have kids. Neat trick. Which, Stannis offered you a long time ago, Jon, by the way. But here, Daenerys, she's apparently told Tyrion, I can't have children. Mirri Maz Duur cursed me to death and all this. And so it's all very interesting because, the dragons, again, are her children, and she loses one. And now I think that's going to kind of click and be oh yeah, I'm going to have actual successors. And it goes back to Cersei probably being actually pregnant because of all of this dynasty and legacy stuff that we're dealing with and passing on to your children. It leads me to believe that Cersei is, in fact, preggers. So that's the whole thing. And we didn't get any Cersei, we didn't get any Qyburn, we didn't get any Jaime, we didn't get any Bronn, we didn't get any Grey Worm. We haven't seen Euron for 3 episodes. Is everybody very well aware of this? Where is Euron? What is he doing? What?
Wake up.
And then, we've got this stuff going on with Arya and Sansa, and I think this is my real problem with the show right now, is that Jon and Daenerys and Tyrion and Davos, they can just go boop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop all over the continent in no time flat, but we're still over here dealing with this stupid shit between Sansa and Arya. Now, I did in fact like the Winterfell stuff a little bit more in Beyond the Wall because I really figured they were just gonna drop it and everything was gonna be whoop-de-doo. But we had some interesting conversations between the Stark girls in this episode, and I'm just not so sure if it's all part of a plan to undercut Littlefinger. It kind of seems like that on Sansa's part, because it just doesn't make a shit ton of sense that Sansa and Littlefinger would be talking about this letter and how dangerous it could be if people found out about it. But the fact of the matter is, they showed you in the previously on that Peter was there when she was being forced to write this letter, and so there's no reason for them to really fear it. Sansa knows that Littlefinger is trying to play her, or at least that's what I would like to believe. I would like to believe that she knows what's up and what's down, and that Littlefinger should be, on her side and willing to stand up for her rather than sweep this whole situation under the rug. It seems like the show is playing with us and not having the characters play with each other. It's almost like intrigue for intrigue's sake rather than actually making a shit ton of sense. Because as soon as Peter brings up the fact that, you could get Brienne to take care of Arya, she's like, Littlefinger seems to have his money on Brienne, let me get Brienne out of here. I could see Sansa kind of getting hip to that real quick. But as far as what's going on between these girls, I don't know. It doesn't seem like they're playing a game, or it doesn't seem like Arya's playing a game anyway. If it's all for show, who are they showing it to? Because there's no reason to let Littlefinger know that you've got a bag of faces that you magically put on and become other people. And Arya just comes off as a complete dick in this episode. Like, everything she says to Sansa is so childish and pretty much unwarranted. And I like that Sansa had answers for Arya's questions. Like, could you do what I did? Probably not. And Arya's like, oh, well, I would have died, blah, blah, blah. But, like, what good is dying going to do? Sansa has actually put herself into a position of authority where she can make real change. And maybe Arya isn't satisfied with that, but again, Arya just comes across as a dick in this episode for reasons that I'm guessing are like, ooh, super secretive and gonna be amazing. And at least that's what I feel like the showrunners are expecting us to feel. So, I don't know, I'm just confused about the whole thing. This whole season has been like, logic, find that logic. And the logic is really just missing me, man. Donde es el logico? I don't know. So, Jon is gonna like bend the knee to Daenerys once he can get back up on his feet. And Daenerys and Jon are looking all sexy, and I just don't care for it. The only way that I want for Jon and Daenerys to get together is if Jon dies. Like, undeniably and reliably dead. I want him to die. I just don't like Show Jon. I don't want it for Book Jon. I don't care for Show Jon. He can go. I'm tired of them playing with his mortality only to prove that it doesn't exist. It's really annoying. There's only so many times that you can convince me that you're going to kill somebody and not do it. And so when they finally do kill him, I'm going to be cheering. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to feel bad about it. I'm going to be like, finally. Motherfucker, you're dead. I don't know. It's crazy. And again, this goes to the pace of the show was one thing, and now the pace of the show is something completely different. And I don't feel like we're watching in season 7 the same show that we fell in love with in seasons 2 and 3. It just feels like a much different show. It feels like they not only shifted gears, but it seems like they got into a whole new car. It seems like they like replaced the engine. It's weird, man. It doesn't feel like the same show. And the quality is great. I mean, when you're looking at the acting and the set design and the cinematography and just the scope of everything, the quality has not been lost. But I feel like the gumption behind it, kind of the motivation behind it, is just not the same. I feel like they're really they're like, oh, let's just get it over with, guys. And I can understand that because everybody's been doing this show for, nearly 10 years now, and that can't be the most fun. But, like, again, where's Ghost? What's going on? Like, who's pregnant? Who's not? Why are we doing all this if you're just not really going to do any of it? I don't know, man. For about 5 years, we had the books to guide us to where we were going next. And even though for book readers you knew where we were getting to, it was always fun and exciting to see how the show was going to handle that, what they would omit, what would they add. Just the way of doing it was exciting to see. And I feel like now that we don't know where we're going, it's very clear that neither do the showrunners. And I'm sure the showrunners have their own idea of where they want their story to go, but I feel like without the Bible that is the text, it's not as easy to put on a good show. You know what I mean? They don't have a good a reference point anymore. So I don't know, Planet Earth. The season is not what I was hoping for, and since we've only got 7 episodes total left after Sunday night's episode, or as of Sunday night's episode, I'm losing faith. I'm not going to give up. I mean, I've already invested this much time in it, so why give up now? But it's just really disappointing and disheartening to see everything just get rushed in and logic just get left behind. And so, Planet Earth, let me know what you thought of Eastwatch and Beyond the Wall in the comment section down below. I'm Preston L. Young, and I hope you're having a great 2017 so far, everybody. You can come right back here to the Buffyngton Post anytime for Buffy the Vampire Slayer reviews, Angel and Faith reviews, Buffyverse discussions, discussions on the other Slayers, more Game of Thrones episode reviews, and more. Have yourself a great day today, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
My BFF Joe 730.